This is News 6 Tonight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Friday edition of News 6 Tonight. And I paused before I said Friday because it does not feel...
We were just saying, it's something about the limbo around the New Year's period.
Any holiday. It's like, what day is it again?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a Friday, but I'm glad it's a Friday. We made it through a whole week. And Happy New Year. If we haven't told you Happy New Year already. You were here yesterday.
Yes.
I was off. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Because I got to be off because you filled in.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Matt Austin is still off. We have the lovely Mike Valenti filling in. I hope you don't mind that I called you lovely because you have a
totally
great attitude.
Don't mind.
Unlike Matt.
Well, he's going to be back Monday.
I know. Then I'll say nice things about him.
Yeah.
But we still, even though, people take time off for the holidays, the news does not take time off.
Yeah.
And we found that out today.
Yeah, that's right.
We have some crazy headlines.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's a family on Cozart Street that is starting the new year off on a pretty solemn, somber tone. Because the Orlando police are investigating. We've been covering this since yesterday. Orlando police investigating the shooting death of someone who used to be in their ranks. Actually, This is Dennis Turner. We've told you about this all day. 23-year vet on the force, OPD. He retired in 2018, ended up coming back to the department in a reserve capacity. We're going to tell you more about that in a couple moments. But what we know from Orlando police, not a whole lot right now. This is an active investigation. They say they found Dennis Turner, 64 years old, at a house on Cozart Street, lying on the ground with an apparent gunshot wound he was suffering from. Was taken to the hospital, and then he later died. Now, Jeffrey London, a 58-year-old, has been arrested in this. He's currently in custody at Highlands County Jail. That's because, according to police, he ran away, left the area, and he was later apprehended by law enforcement in Polk and Highlands counties. Now, police say this stemmed from a family dispute. The nature of their relationship, though, that is not known. So
we don't know how these two men might know each other.
We don't even know if they're family. We just
Gotcha.
know, according to police, how they characterize it,
Okay.
a family dispute. And again, the caveat being that's preliminary information. So there's still a lot we have to learn. But we do know a little bit about Dennis Turner, the one who police say was shot and killed here. That's because he had garnered some national attention. A lot of attention here, but the story reached markets across the country.
Because it was so startling when we saw it.
Yes, several years ago, 2019, he was involved in the infamous arrests of 2 children. So our intrepid investigator, News 6, Mike DeForest, reminded our viewers today of who Dennis Turner was and how he was involved in this.
Okay, she's gonna have to come with us now.
Okay, Kai, you
Stand
gotta
up.
go with them, baby girl.
Stand up.
This video, captured in 2019 at an Orlando charter school, shows Dennis Turner and a fellow police officer arresting a 6-year-old. The child was accused of punching and kicking school staff members.
I don't want to go to the police car.
You don't want to?
No, please.
You have to.
Investigators say the transport officer seen here placing the 6-year-old in the back of a patrol car believed they had permission to make the arrest. But Orlando's police chief at the time concluded Officer Turner had failed to get supervisor approval to arrest a juvenile under the age of 12 as agency policy required. So the chief fired Turner from his reserve officer position.
What do you mean she was arrested?
Family members claim the 6-year-old suffered from a sleep disorder that contributed to her behavioral issues. The family later sued the city of Orlando and several police officers. Last year, a judge dismissed most of the family's claims, but the judge did allow the family's lawsuit against Turner to proceed, which alleges excessive force and false arrest. Turner was in the process of appealing the judge's decision when he was gunned down on New Year's Day during what police called a family dispute.
So again, that all unfolded after Turner had retired when he came back in reserve capacity. But again, as I said at the top, he was a 23-year vet on the force, OPD, and then yesterday was shot and killed, according to Orlando
It's just so
police.
shocking because we remember talking about him because you can't forget that story with 6-year-old Kaya, and we did several interviews with her family because they were talking a lot about what happened during that incident, and it was just one of those startling things. And as you mentioned at the top of this, it got a lot of national attention because people were shocked to see a 6-year-old. We said handcuffs, but I think it was zip tied.
Yes,
Her hands were zip tied, and just seeing that child in such distress was what was alarming for a lot of people to see that. But he thought he had every right to do that, obviously, or he wouldn't have done it. And it turns out that same day it arrested an 8-year-old. And they're like, you don't have the right to do that.
So, of course, when we heard that name today, I mean, we thought back of that
just
incident.
connect the dots.
Yeah,
It's it's just one of those tragic stories, and we're sad that his life is now gone, but we'll have to figure out. And there were pending lawsuits as well. I think,
so we don't know what will come of that. I mean, obviously, this is something we're going to keep on top of
course,
especially the circumstances surrounding the shooting yesterday.
All right, and speaking of the news just coming out of Central Florida, that is just wild. One of our most clicked on stories on clickorlando.com is a story you actually talked about it last night at 11 o'clock, and it comes out of Flagler County, and it was a traffic stop, basically. It's one of those cases where someone saw something and they said something, and thank goodness they did. They saw something that looked pretty suspicious. They saw this older gentleman in a vehicle with younger people, it turns out a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. And when we saw the video, the traffic stop was so crazy because then the 15-year-old eventually takes off. We're going to show you what actually unfolded in its entirety as we have from the body cam, and then we'll discuss exactly what happened, because now we have heard through investigators from the 11-year-old who had been reported missing.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back. 214 Flagler! 214 Flagler, I got 111. Right, at the 214, the teenager just took off in the white truck.
214, what was your last?
Signal 4, signal 4, signal 4.
Okay, that whole scene is just heart-pounding and just
remarkable video.
It really, really is. And when you see that Ford truck take off, there's a 15-year-old behind the wheel there. The person that they were looking for in this case was Darnell Hairston. He's a registered sexual offender who was found to be traveling in a car with the juveniles one of them had been previously reported missing. And it turns out he was with a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. And investigators interviewed the 11-year-old, who was thankfully found in this situation. And I want to just read you a little bit of what the detectives say the 11-year-old said. It said, during the interview, the child stated he had been lured to a wooded campsite in Flagler Estates where Hairston choked him until he lost consciousness. And after regaining consciousness, the child told detectives he was threatened with a knife and a firearm, tied up with shoelaces and an extension cord, and had duct tape placed over his mouth. The child also told detectives that Hairston held him at the campsite for multiple days and made him travel on the floorboard of the truck where he was covered up by a blanket so no one could see him.
So it goes without saying this could have ended in a
who
horrific
knows
fashion.
what the plan was for that 11-year-old. And they're saying, I don't know what role the 15-year-old had in this.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of many outstanding questions we have. Obviously, that 15-year-old authorities named is Junior Bishop because he's facing some serious charges.
Very serious charges.
But they're also investigating the possibility that he may be a co-conspirator in the kidnapping. Again, it may be.
Maybe, yeah.
We don't know the nature of their relationship.
But it's just so wild that why would a 15-year-old help this 60-year-old man abduct an 11-year-old child? And this kid had been reported missing a few days before. This all unfolded on New Year's Eve, by the way. And that 11-year-old had been reported missing 3 days prior to that.
And Hairston, by the way, he had been sentenced to 12 years in prison. That was in 2004, but he was released only 5 years in 2009. That was a fact that Sheriff Rick Staley kind of honed in on.
Yeah.
Having some choice words to describe
choice words we probably cannot repeat. And, Rick Staley is doing some interviews right now with national media. So this story is another one that's gaining a lot of attention because of the nature of it. And when you see it unfold, you just wonder what in the world was the plan and how frightened this 11-year-old must have been in that situation, being on the floorboard of that Ford truck and being told to just be still, be quiet. But thank goodness, I hope we find the person who saw something suspicious. Because when things don't look right, And you hate to be that person to say like, is it my business really? But this is what, if you see something, please say something, especially when you see young people involved, because you have no idea what's going on in
this
that
is the
situation.
perfect example of a resolution, authorities want to see.
I mean, I think that 11-year-old is going to need a lot of help moving forward,
of course.
because that's what a traumatic event to have happen. But I'm sure his family will be happy that he is safe and sound now, and will get him the help and care that he needs. But
definitely,
what a heavy first block.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we're going to lighten it up a whole lot.
I hope so.
Coming up after the break, but it's a story that we're going to tell you. I think, we don't give elderly people or older people the credit they deserve. This is why I would like to just sit at the feet of older people and listen to them. There is something that an 81-year-old man did that would have never crossed my mind, and it possibly saved his life. We'll talk about that story coming up after the break. Yeah, and we got the latest from the sheriff just a little while ago, I think. So we'll make sure we have that for News 6 tonight. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We know you're busy, but news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
That's right. And this is News 6 Tonight, where we leverage this entire busy newsroom with our community correspondents, our producers, our content desk, and then we filter through that. We have a casual conversation about the news that impacts Central Florida.
Yeah, we live here in the community, and we rely on you for our neighborhood network because you're our eyes and ears as well, and we can't do it without you.
So you can watch us all over the place, YouTube, News 6 Plus app, and clickorlando.com. While you're here, feel free to engage. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Ginger, you teased to this story that we were both amazed by when we were anchoring earlier. We were talking about it. Yeah, this comes from WPEC in Palm Beach. It has to do with an elderly gentleman, 81-year-old in Lantana. This is from Al Peffley. That's the reporter's name. Does a great job conveying this story. Basically, what this boils down to is an elderly man who police say was being abused by his caregiver, reaching out for help in a pretty unexpected way. I want to say more, but I feel like Al Peffley does a better job of telling this story. We'll let him do that.
Police say a caregiver who looked after a man here in his home became violent and tried to strangle him. When this letter carrier stopped by the home of an 81-year-old man in Lantana Monday to deliver mail, he found an unusual note hanging on the man's mailbox. It read, "Call the police." The elderly man who lives in that home put the note on his mailbox after he says a woman who's his caregiver tried to strangle him Sunday.
Well, she got on me, on top of me, started grabbing my hand that had the cell phone that I was calling the police. And I couldn't call the police because she grabbed it.
He says his caregiver, 60-year-old Denise Williams, was upset with the condition of the bathroom, and she tried to strangle him with both her hands around his neck.
Did you think she was trying to kill you?
No. No, she was just angry.
He says Williams took his cell phone, 2 landline telephones, and his car keys and locked them in her bedroom, and she stole his credit card and checkbook and she left. Without his phones, the victim could not call 911. Fearing for his safety, he got a pen and paper and wrote a note like this one that says, quote, "Call the police," and he hung it on his mailbox next to his front door. The next day, the letter carrier found the note, discussed it with his supervisor, who then called Lantana police, and Williams was arrested.
Fortunately, this is an example of someone vulnerable community being taken advantage of. In this case,
Oh
physically,
my
obviously,
gosh.
but the grace that man showed when Al asked him, do you think she was trying to kill you?
Yeah. I mean, why else would you put your hands around
Yeah.
someone's neck? You're trying to like choke the life out of them, you would think. It's just so sad because this man has lived 81 years and to be treated that way. And I'm sure if you're his family member, even if he has any family members left, they have no idea. You hire someone to take care of this person in their, sunset or golden years, whatever you want to call it. And he seemed like the sweetest person and obviously still sharp as a tack.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, I would not have thought, because she took the phone, she took his checkbook. Take the checkbook.
Yeah.
You're taking money already. You're not even taking care of this guy. There's so many things
Yeah.
wrong with this story. It drives
And
me
that
nuts.
mail carrier, the quick thinking of taking that piece of paper, I believe Al said in the reporting, going to supervisor, they discussed it and they did the appropriate thing, which is to alert the authorities.
Taking it seriously, these mail carriers, I don't think we realize sometimes they are just a lifeline for a lot of people because they visit, and some of them, we've done stories on, they notice like the mail piling up where it normally wouldn't, and they say something. It's just, they do such a great job, and they have a tough time sometimes.
This is another example of see something,
say something. Yeah. So if you have a mail carrier in your neighborhood, just be nice to them and just say thank you. They don't want anything. They're just doing their job. And if you just thank them every once in a while for being there, I bet they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because who thanks somebody for just doing their job?
You're right.
But
You're
you look
right.
for, I check that mail every day. You never know. All right. Here in Central Florida, the weather had been a little chilly for us, and now it's turning warm again. Well, in South Florida, it's a little bit warmer there. And South Florida, you wouldn't expect it to be the place where they set up an outdoor ice rink, but that's exactly what's happening. And the game is being played right now. It's we've got a Stanley Cup winning team. Yeah. And they had to set up where the Marlins generally play, and they've got this ice rink that they're setting up. Look at this thing, and it really takes a lot of people to make this happen. 200 workers get this ice rink ready, and they need about 3,000 gallons of coolant to keep it all frozen. Jamie Say pointed out, our sports director pointed out that this this facility has a retractable roof, so if it rained or anything like that. But I just love that they're making this big effort to get this ice ready and to keep it ready for the players tonight. Probably in the next hour or so, we'll know who won.
It's like bringing an artificial winter to Florida,
to a place that's unexpected.
Yeah,
right.
And they've done the NHL Winter Classic for several years now.
Yeah.
I'm from the Northeast. I'm used to seeing the Winter Classic in they held it at Fenway in Boston one year. I know they've held it in Chicago. They typically don't, at least from what I remember, don't hold it in warm weather places. So this is just like a cool, different experience.
This is cool the cool in every sense of the word. So right now the Panthers are playing the New York Rangers. That game, as you pointed out, started at 8 o'clock. I just thought that was a cool thing.
I was trying to time it perfectly where I can give you a real-time update. But I'm not as quick as Jamie.
No, that's okay. She probably already knows. Anyway, all right, let's talk about our weather that is not going to be so cool moving forward. We have some big changes headed our way. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is joining us now. Jonathan, I'm wearing probably what will be the last sweater of the season, it seems like, because I saw in your 7-day forecast, we're going into the 80s going into next week.
Yeah, in mid-80s at that. If that would go out another 7 days, I mean, where it's going to be even warmer, what you'll see on the next 7-day forecast. So, yeah, some big-time warmth. I'm optimistic, though, that it will get a little cool one more time before the blowtorch. But I really think so far so good. Yeah, I mean, that's what I call it. When we put together our long-range forecast for the winter, the ups and downs were going to stop like the middle of January. And then it was going to be the runaway, okay, we got to worry about the wildfire season really coming into play because it is going to get super dry and super, super warm. And it looks like we're going to make that turn this weekend. Wanted to show you this. Air temperatures in Miami, guys, where the game is going on. It's 61 degrees right now. The warmest actually happened in Colorado in the mid-60s, one of the stadium series. So there's the Winter Classic the NHL does, and then do the stadium series as well. They've had it in California, and it was at 62 degrees at puck drop. So that's more on the rival with that. So they can do it. The ice crew does a fantastic job of keeping it cool and playable, but it's kind of wild to have a ice hockey rink in South Florida.
Right,
but anyway,
I just want to ride the Zamboni. That's all.
Oh, that would be.
That's the best part, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. We do have a cold front coming. We're probably short on time, but cold front coming through tomorrow, I should say. It'll be slightly cooler on Sunday, and then the big time warm up. But we're going to highlight all of that stuff coming up 9:30.
And you did also talk about the possibility that some of us might see some rain because my lawn is a little crunch, dry right now.
Yes, it will be a little bit. Some of us might get lucky, and we might get maybe a quarter of an inch, half inch of rain. Yes. I think that will be few and far between, and that will be later on Saturday night. So we're going to try after that, though. I mean, the spigot really shuts off, so we'll take every drop tomorrow night.
For sure. All right, Jonathan, we'll see you at 9:30.
Thank you, Jonathan. 2-0 Rangers, by the way.
Okay. And that's your update.
2 minutes later. Yeah, really showing off the sports anchoring skills.
No. You never know when that will come in handy. All right, before we go, we're going to have one more story after the break, and it's one that you will find very helpful, especially if you've ever been delayed at the airport, and who hasn't, when we come back.
Welcome to News 6 Tonight. We are so thankful that you're joining us here wherever you found us.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? If you have made this your new streaming destination, it tells me you're smart. Also good looking, because you chose to watch the news in a different way. That makes you really smart. Anybody can give you the news from a teleprompter or an old newspaper. We do it in a fresh new way.
That's right. So check us out wherever you like to stream. We have this app for your TV, News 6 Plus. You can find it on Roku and Amazon and whatever your smart TV is cooking. So thank you. We would love to hear your comments down below.
My gosh. Yeah.
And then we'll show them.
Yeah, we will. News 6 Plus. The plus is you.
Ooh.
Okay, welcome back. And Ginger, during the break, we were sharing horror stories
about being delayed at for
very
some
traumatic
travel.
experiences. We've all had it, as you alluded to before the break.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a very busy time to travel. I believe today is the busiest day of the year.
I think it fluctuates today or tomorrow or something. They were saying Saturday. People going back after the New Year.
So last few weeks, I mean, the MCO has been packed. People coming to Orlando on vacation, people leaving to go visit family. So this is a good reminder of what you are and are not entitled to legally. Call it the passenger or flyer Bill of Rights. News 6 anchor Lauren Melendez has more on this.
With airlines projecting nearly 53 million passengers traveling for Christmas and the New Year, there's bound to be setbacks. But don't get set up. Know that if your flight is canceled and you choose not to travel, even if your ticket has a big fat non-refundable on it, the airline must give your money back.
We've had our flights delayed 7 hours before, and they've been pretty good about giving us vouchers with free food.
And yes, just like this mother-daughter duo who scored a meal voucher after a travel nightmare, you'll get one too if your flight is late. All airlines are required by law to offer you a meal voucher if your domestic flight is delayed by 3 hours or your international flight is pushed back by 6. But what if it's more and you're stuck overnight?
What do you think of this big Orlando airport?
It's humongous.
That doesn't mean it's comfy, and the myth that airlines have to book you a hotel for canceled flights is in fact just that. Doesn't mean they won't, they're just not federally mandated. So you should ask for a voucher and keep your hotel receipt if you've got a reach in your wallet. Turns out when we surveyed folks on their passenger Bill of Rights, Much of this came as a surprise.
They don't communicate that well, so I've never really felt the need to learn those.
So to make sure this isn't the year you learn the hard way, here's a cheat sheet. Expect compensation of some sort for anything under the controllable category on the left. Anything else is a toss-up. Lauren Melendez, News 6.
Talk about news you can use.
I mean,
right?
Print that out, keep it on your phone, do whatever,
Yes.
and the next time you're at the airport so you can start telling them, hey, I know my rights or whatever. And I hope meteorologist Jonathan Kegis doesn't mind me telling the story because we talked about it earlier, because it says one of the things that they will not, you're not entitled if it's weather related. And I think he said he was on a flight and they were trying to tell him that it was weather related. And it's like, excuse me, meteorologist here. That's not weather. It's not weather related.
That's why I always travel with a local meteorologist. I have a rotation from all the meteorologists.
That you travel with exclusively.
just so they can fact check the employees.
Yeah, I mean, it does help if they give you some, compensation. It makes it a little better, but you look at that woman and she's got a young child she's flying with, and there is no amount of money that can keep a kid entertained for a 7-hour delay. They're on their tablets, they're doing whatever, but after a while, talk about, are we there yet?
Yeah, and I think people, I mean, we've all been there, we've all seen it. People are at their most emotional. They're I kind of reach their limit when they're experiencing extended delays. So sometimes you're not thinking rationally.
Yeah.
The passenger bill of rights is not at the forefront of your mind.
No, it's
so
not.
this is just another good update of what you can expect when you go to the airport.
And traveling is already very stressful, and we've seen passengers get out of control when their flights take off on time.
Yeah.
So
open TikTok. 1 out of every 3 videos is that.
Is something on a plane where they're being escorted off, and you hate to see that because now everyone's delayed. Yeah. I wonder if that's covered. If a passenger disrupts a flight like that, I got to figure out.
That's a good point. We should look into that. But another reminder to give employees on airlines and airports some grace, because they do have a tough job.
A lot of grace. Hey, thank you for showing us some grace and joining us tonight. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a good night.